In this short Students Achieve video, we'll be looking at part 2 of using the gradebook, and in this case we're going to be looking at how to create an assignment within the lesson plan organizer. There's a couple of ways we can get to that screen from our splash screen. One is to come up here under the tabs under Plan, Classrooms, and choose Lessons or Assignments from the drop-down menu. But most teachers will use the feature here on the splash screen that says Plan Classroom Assignments. So let's click on that. So I'm teaching an art class here right now, and what I'm going to do is set up an assignment within my folder system, folder layout. And very simple to do. What I'll do is I'll come over here and click on New, which will launch a window that prompts me to decide what kind of assignment I want to add to this. So first thing I need to do is give it a name. So in this case, we'll just call it clay sculpture. And a task type, from this drop-down menu, you can choose what kind of assignment it is going to be. Is it going to be homework? Is it going to be a take-home project? Is it going to be an in-class assignment? In this case, I'm just going to put an in-class assignment. By default, it comes up as a summative form of assessment, and in most cases, this is what you will leave it on. So I need to give it a points value. What is this assignment going to be worth? So just arbitrarily, I'm going to choose a number, 15%. I'm not going to enter anything into the scale value here. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So we're just going to leave that blank at the time. And now I need to assign it a due date. So by clicking on this calendar, I'm going to assign it back towards the end of the last school year. And it puts the date into the due date window. Now this, by adding a due date to this assignment, it now will have the ability to show up on the parent portal and the student portal to show them that when the project is due or when the assignment is due. So I'm going to add this assignment, which launches another window. So from here, I can add additional information to this assignment if I want. By default, it gives me just the information that I just added. But if there's any special information or instructions that I want to add to the content of the assignment, so please review a certain file, or a little background information on the assignment, maybe it reiterates what we talked about in class, I can add this information here and it will show up with the information that's attached to the assignment inside the parent or student portal. I also have the ability to add or attach files with a maximum file size of 4 megabytes to an assignment. So if there was a handout that I had in class that I wanted to attach to it, that students can then, or parents can go on to the parent portal, link to and download or view the file that you want them to have associated with the assignment. Or I can add a web link. So if there's certain web pages that I want to have students review in order to do this assignment, I can do that as well. Now, if there's more than web page that I want them to review, or if I have more than one handout that I want them to review, I can add new information along the top that will allow me again to attach or upload or any information for this assignment that I deem necessary. Again, the maximum file size for all of the files is 4 megabytes. So in this case, I'm just going to leave this blank. I can come back to the first screen that popped up when we created the assignment, and I have the ability to attach a rubric, and there's a video already recorded if you want to cover how to attach and create rubrics for your assignments or your assessments. Please view that. But just quickly, by selecting the 1, 2, 3 little calendar here, it prompts me to either create a new rubric or add an existing one from within my rubrics library that I may have created already. The last thing in here is how to create parts. So parts, in a way, is the rubric without the breakdown of assessment content. So if there was something like in this case, I'm doing clay sculpture, so it could be the kneading of the clay could be one of the areas for the parts. It could be finishing, glazing, something along those lines. So each one of those parts can be broken down here and given a name. I select a entry method, so for most cases it's going to be a marker number, and then I would give that particular part a total points that I'm going to assess out of. just going to take this off of here right now. I'm going to clear that out so it's blank. And then what will happen is when we look at where the lesson was created, those particular parts will be broken up and shown individually, where I can add individual marks for the parts of an assessment. Again, there is a video already created on how to use parts within SAS. I'd ask you, if you're interested in it, to review that video as well. So in this case, there's nothing other than the general information that I've created at the beginning. So I'm just going to hit save, and I'm going to close this window down. So here we have our assignment that we've created, and I'll just quickly go through the information of the icons that are here and how it's laid out. So we've created an assignment called Clay Sculpture. It's a summative assessment form. Total points are 15 points, and on the far right you'll see it has the word scale. So if I wanted to use a scaling value, I could. If you don't see scale on your screen right now, if we go to the add a field comment here, if we go to the class options, you'll see weighting configuration, and in there you'll see a use scalar weighting checkbox. If that's not checked, then you're not seeing the scale added to the fields that we're looking at. In my case it is. So you can either check or uncheck that if you want to. So the way that scaling works in this particular instance is, right now it's a 1-to-1 ratio. The total points of the assessment are 15 and the scale is worth 15, so it works out as 1-to-1. But as you're doing your assessments, if for example you've done a take-home exam, or you've done some a smaller assignment or a smaller test where the weight of that isn't necessarily as strong as other assignments or tests or things of that nature that you may have used, you can change the scale within SAS. And all you do is you enter a different value into the scale. So in this case it's 1-to-1, but if I wanted to, I could either double the value, so it could be total points would be 15 and the scale would be 30, so that's twice as much. But a very simple way to do it is, if I use the number 1, the scale is 1-to-1. So total points 15, the scale is the same. If I leave that blank, it also indicates that the scale is 1-to-1. But by entering a different value, say for example 2, it's now going to be worth twice as much on the overall assessment as I've indicated in the total points. So the mark would still be out of 15, but in the overall assessment for this unit of study, this mark would be considered by SAS at this point as twice the value as other assignments that I've created. So I can do twice the value, 3 times, 4 times, whatever scale I want to give to an assignment, I can add it in here. Now some teachers use scaling, and some teachers just go by the total points of the assessment that the assignment that they're working on at that time. In this case, I'm going to leave it blank, so I want to leave it at 1-to-1. At the far right is our due date. Now we'll see when it's due in here. I can also click on this calendar and change that due date either to another time, or completely clear that date out of there altogether by clicking the clear button. And if I do that, it will not show up on the parent portal or the student portal. With no date associated to it, it's not taking into account the total points or the mark that I'm going to give for this assignment. It has to have a date associated with it. So over on the far right, just very quickly, when we first created this assignment, where the dialog box came up where it allowed us to add rubrics or parts or content, we can edit that from the far right with the notepad with the pencil on it. So any one of these are available to us again. And again, any changes that you make, please save them. Next to that is a paperclip, so it's an attachment window. We did see this before, where we could add local files, handouts, web links within the assignment, again to a maximum of 4 megabytes. But we can go back and edit as we need to from this paperclip link. Next to that is an A+. This is where we'll go to enter marks. So if I click on that, it takes me to my class, and in this case you'll see our assignment is clay sculpture. The students that I have in the class And you'll see that for this particular assignment, which is clay sculpture, I now have the students in my class with that 15 total points associated with this assignment. Now I can flood fill again, just like we had done with the with the attendance. In this case, I'm not going to. I'm just going to individually enter a mark. So Sally get 10, and so on, 11, 9. So now that mark is associated with this assessment or assignment. Now at the end of this, we have a comp code. So sometimes issues come up where they may be absent from a class, they may have handed something in late or not handed in at all. So I can indicate that by choosing one of these from the drop-down menu. And just like we had done with attendance, I have a little pad here where I can enter information that regards to why that assignment was whatever code that I choose. So late, I can show the parents, and I can have an indication later on in the school year as to why that information, why the mark wasn't what it should be, or reasons why I chose to give the mark that I did. Okay, so when I've entered all my marks into the assignment that I've created, please make sure to save the information, because if you don't save it, you're not going to have it there when you close out of the application. And as I showed you when we talked about lates and not handed in and excused, I can get a tally report on that for each assignment that I do, or if I just go to the add a field comment, you'll see there are some dialog boxes here, and three that are indicated as not handed in, incomplete, and late. And if I choose those three options, and at the top I hit apply changes, and I recompute, you'll notice now that I have three tallies on the end that give me a quick visual reference to any additional information that I've had with any of the assignments that I've created. So Sally was late. I can see very quickly that I did have a late for this particular assignment, and then I can go back in to the students and view any information that pertains to, in this case, the late comment, and any information that would be there.